recording. On Arya, Ahmad Hassan. Recording at the care. Done. I don't know.
Other me Kalim. Mamma
Yes,
okay, darling. Thank you. Bye.
I got some safety tips that you gotta know, and trust me, it's something that you wanna hear.
So honey, sip your lips and enjoy the show before we move into the stratosphere. Yeah.
So won't you buckle your seatbelt, pull it on tight, and keep your in that chair until we turn off that light. Turn your electrical devices off as fast as you can. Don't make me ask you again. So tonight, get ready to fly, 'cause we're gonna live it on up in the sky. America knows all the places you wanna be. Fly away with me, fly away with me, yeah.
For the 0.001% of you who have never operated a seatbelt before, really? I mean, it works like this. Insert the metal end into the buckle until it clicks, and pull on the loose end to tighten, making sure it fits slow and tight across your lap. There you go. To open, lift on the top of the buckle. And remember, seatbelts should be fastened whenever you're seated, just in case of unexpected turbulence or weather conditions. Personal electronic devices should be turned off and properly stowed during taxi, takeoff, and landing. Laptops should be placed inside carry-ons or under the seat, not in seat back pockets or loose on the cushion next to you. Nice try. Your in-flight team or the sign above will determine when electronics may or may not be used during flight.
Yo, now that you're bopping your head to the rap scene, now their eyes all glued to the flat screen. If the cabin pressure's changing, you know that we won't be leaving you hanging. Pull your mask down first, don't worry, oxygen flows. Tighten the straps after placing on your mouth and your nose. If you're traveling with someone, like a child, for instance, put your mask on first before you offer assistance.
Now, under your seat, there's a life vest. First class, it's below your center armrest. Remove the pouch, tear it open, place it over your head. Are we coming in clear? Did you hear what we said? Look on the white straps and tighten right around your waist. Hands off the plane, pull the handles and your vest will inflate. If your vest doesn't feel funny, no big deal. Blow into the red tube and you got every bill. There's a bright locator light, and it's right on your shoulder. Thank you for your attention. This robot block is over.
Just in case we must evacuate, we've got a plan of attack. We've got a plan of attack. Forward, no exits on this airplane. Four exit doors, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Wow, in the unlikely event we need to get you outside, your exit is equipped with an inflatable slide. Only door signs can be used as a flotation device. And if you need to find the exit, you just follow the light.
They're at the base of the seats. They go from white into red. But keep in mind the nearest exit door may not be ahead.
So look around and let us just remind you, the nearest exit might be behind you. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's important for all you smokers out there. It's never allowed here, so don't you forget.
Don't forget.
Federal law prohibits tampering, destroying, disabling smoke detectors, so don't touch that cigarette. Don't you do it.
All right, it's time for final cabin check. Make sure all carry-on bags are stowed away, tray tables and seats are in their upright and locked positions, and all electronic devices are completely shut off.
For additional safety information, check out the safety cards located in the seat pocket in front of you. Please read and review before we take off. FAA regulations require that all guests comply with the lighted information signs, posted placards, and instruction of the in-flight team.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now enjoy your flight, and as always, thank you for flying Virgin America.
So tonight, get ready to fly. Live it on up in the sky. Virgin and place it over your head. Are we coming in clear? Did you hear what we said? Look on the white straps and tighten right around your waist. Hands off the plane, pull the handles and your vest will inflate. If your vest doesn't feel funny, no big deal. Blow into the red tube and you got every bill. There's a bright locator light and it's right on your shoulder. Thank you for your attention. This robot block is over.
Just in case we must evacuate, we've got a plan of attack. got a plan of attack. Forward, no exits on this airplane. Four exit doors, two in the front and two in the back. Wow, in the unlikely event, we need to get you outside. Your exit is equipped with an inflatable slide. Only door signs can be used, press that flotation device. And if you need to find the exit, you just follow the light.
They're at the base of the seats. They go from white into red. But keep in mind the nearest exit door may not be ahead.
So look around and let us just remind you, the nearest exit might be behind you. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's important for all you smokers out there. It's never allowed here, so don't you forget.
Don't forget.
Federal law prohibits tampering, destroying, disabling smoke detectors, so don't touch that cigarette. Don't you do it.
All right, it's time for final cabin check. Make sure all carry-on bags are stowed away, tray tables and seats are in their upright and locked positions, and all electronic devices are completely shut off.
For additional safety information, check out the safety cards.
All right, let's get started.
Please read and review before we take off.
Okay, let's get
Regulations require
started.
that all guests comply with the lighted
Let's get started. Thank you very much. I just played a small video so that we have a few more joining us. Hello.
And as always,
Good evening to all of you. Good evening. Okay, let's get started. Let's get started. I suppose today is a Friday evening, so you probably had a bit of plans. But I'm glad you are part of today's session. So we are going live on Facebook as well for anyone out there who missed this session, who can watch the recording. So today's session is an important session. It's something that I have waited to undertake for a very long time. And I'm happy to have three other colleagues today who have studied for about 3 years and gone through the pains, the ups and downs, and we've shared a lot of frustrations, and today we are happy. So let me introduce, I have a few panelists, Dr. Ruchita and Dr. Prashanthan and Dr. Sajid as well, who will talk to you on an important topic today on how you manage, especially your mind, how you manage your mind, right? Because if you manage your mind, you can manage everything else. And that is very important. Remember this doctorate that you have embarked on, your doctoral studies, it is a journey. You have to enjoy the journey. Just like everything else in life, if you fail to enjoy the process, I think then that piece of paper that you get at the end of it is not worth it. It's not worth it. So the struggles, sweat, blood, and tears, right? Sweat, blood means mosquitoes, okay? You're killing mosquitoes. No other forms of blood. Sweat, blood, and tears, right, will be the joy, that the memory that you will have once you graduate and once you start carrying your doctorate into the society. So today we are going to have a very compact session, very inspirational session. So let me invite Dr. Ruchita to start off today's session. Let me share the screen. I think Dr. Ruchita, you can present and kick off today's session. Welcome, warm welcome to you. And please inspire us and tell us about your doctoral journey at Cambridge College and with the university. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Diasz. I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Right. So first of all, I'd like to thank you and CCBM for giving me this opportunity to share some of the insights that I've gone through, and it gives me great pleasure in sharing that knowledge with all of you, and also as Dr. Diasz said, it was a journey. It wasn't a destination. And also what sort of motivated me throughout the journey is the fact that knowing there is a winning post, a goal post somewhere, and to run through this journey, with a lot of tears and a lot of hardships. But at the end of the day, what mattered was that there was a joyful, tremendous, a remarkable result at the end of it. And I hope and pray, and I wish all of you who are joining today to sort of take some insights and then see whether you could also enjoy your journey with the university as well as CCBM. So I will share very quickly an important element of a doctoral journey, and that is to select a topic. Now, I'd like to start the session with this little.
Sorry to disturb you. Could you press the present on your presentation?
Yeah, is that clear now?
Yes, thanks. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So I like to start off this little quote that says, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. I think for starters, if you are ever to embark on a doctoral journey, what you have to understand is there is an extent of unlearning to be done. Now, most of us will have sort of a accredited MBA or a master's degree, and then all of us are professionals and we've gone through a lot of work experience and so on and so forth. But what matters here is we have to come to a point that we have to be humble, and there is an element of starting all over again. And what better way of starting is to try and understand the extent of our ignorance first, and then to be humble enough to be aware, mindful of it, and then take this journey. And then I promise it is going to be a joyful experience. So the research topic, I will just quickly run through some of the elements that you should consider when selecting a research topic. First of all, make sure that your topic meets the university requirements. Now, this is something that I've seen over the years, that sometimes we take things for granted and we don't follow guidelines. If there's a syllabus, if there's a guideline, if there's a document, and if there is some guidance on selecting a topic, I think we should all be aware of it, and we should read the guidelines and also make sure that we stick to it. And also, it is important to have a good relationship with your supervisors and to make sure that the topic meets the criteria of the university. You can always ask the senior students as well. Number two is choose a topic that is interesting. Now, I have seen over the years students selecting topics where they're very complex, difficult to understand, and if sometimes I've asked my friends and colleagues over the years who are doing doctorates, and sometimes they themselves don't understand what the topic is. So try and select a topic that is interesting, but try and simplify it as well. It is important that you have a good understanding of the entire process and how you can run through that using that topic. And also consider the scope of your topic. Now, if the topic is too broad, then your elements of research, your researchability becomes very complex. So it is going to be a tedious task if it's broad, because your supervisor is going to keep telling you, look, narrow it down, narrow it down. I remember the supervisor telling me, look, it is not sleek. You got to cut it down, slim it. And guess what? I couldn't really slim the thesis, but I got myself slimmed in the process. But hey, there you go. That is something that for us to remember. So the scope, make sure that it is not too broad, and also make sure that it is not too narrow, because then it becomes a bit difficult to sort of research on it. And also, this is very important. Choose a topic that you can apply your quantitative or qualitative analysis. Now, the data that you're going to work with could be either quantitative or qualitative, or it could be hybrid. Okay, so well, that's fine. It is up to you. But make sure that the topic is something that you could sort of use either of these, and you can apply certain statistics to it, because otherwise, when you come to like chapter 3, the research, the data collection and analysis of data, you will have a difficult task. And don't forget, a statistical package that you could use, that you could work with. Now, there are loads of statistical packages. If you're looking at quantitative, there is SPSS, Smart PLS, you have SAS, MATLAB. I mean, there are hundreds of them. And then qualitative, you get Atlas, and there are so many to name. So try and see whether you could sort of have an understanding of the statistical package that you want to work with, and make sure that that package is aligned to your research objectives, questions, and hypotheses that you're going to develop. And finally, use a method of data collection that will not be too difficult. Now, this is something that I got really stumped during my proposal defense. My topic was on digital marketing and how it relates to tourist intention, attitude, and loyalty. Now, I chose a method which is fairly straightforward, convenient sampling. And guess what? The University Senate didn't think that was very exciting. So they were sort of trying to pin me down, saying, guess what? You got to use a much more broader, more complex data collection. But guess what? I stuck to my guns, and I said, look, there are certain complexities surrounding it. So I was quite sort of adamant that I pursue that, but then I was able to justify it, and they accepted in the end. So you have to look at a broader background to your research, the topic, and then you got to look at how you sort of develop the topic and then move towards research objectives and questions. Because if you can't use a topic to formulate your objectives and then your questions, then there is no research. So it is very important that you use the topic that will foresee, and then you'll be able to anticipate what the objectives and questions are. And then brainstorming is something that I think we all have to do. It is about making sure that the concepts and the entire structure can be put together so that you could write the 5 chapters and come out with a research that is, there is some significance to the theoretical and practical elements of the research. And then make sure that you use exploratory and in-depth research initially, rather than moving into it at a later stage. I would urge all of you to have a roadmap. Now, for instance, when you start the journey from the word get-go, make sure that you collect several amounts of literature and, sort of save them, download them, read them, and make sure that the topic has relevant literature available. Now, this is another issue that all of us will face later on, is that, look, supervisors will come and say, look, there's not enough evidence, no previous literature available. Then guess what? at that moment, it is difficult to go back to the drawing board to start looking. So make sure you have about 30 to 50 articles ready, and then make sure the topic is taken, drawn in from all these topics. Look at the challenges, look at the objectives, look at the questions, and then focus on a roadmap. So overall, what I want to cover is that finding a topic is a critical challenge in your research journey. So try and make sure that you create a roadmap, and make sure that when you formulate every step of your roadmap, make sure that you have a real good idea and then focus on that. And I mean, this is what I wanted to share with you. I'd be very happy to take some questions later on. My colleagues, Dr. Diasz, Dr. Prashantan, and Dr. Sajid will also share their insights. They're great guys. I absolutely loved my journey. The numerous trips we've done to Malaysia, the numerous chit chats and the challenges, the bittersweet tears, all that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great experience. So thank you, Dr. Diasz, for giving me this opportunity, and I will be available for any questions later on. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Dr. Ruchita was one of our first candidates, in fact, to complete our DBA here at Cambridge College. And it's always difficult until one person finishes. So we all looked up to Ruchita, who inspired us all, and it was an amazing journey. So I want to encourage, can I have Dr. Sajid? I think you're here, Dr. Sajid. I think you're overseas at the moment. I don't know what time it is. So Dr. Sajid, I remember a very interesting presentation, a very interesting topic once again for his final thesis and research. So Dr. Sajid, the show is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Diasz. So let me share the screen. Right. So thank you very much again, Dr. Diasz, for giving this opportunity. So I think it's a great honor to present in the CCBM. So I think my friend Dr. Ruchinta gave some basic idea and basic he gave some insight mainly in the research topic and things. So what I'm going to discuss is basically I give some insight about this, what are the pitfalls, what are the challenges that we are facing when we are coming to the this journey. So actually one of the key things, so this is actually one of the key things that we want to keep in mind. So when we are doing the doctoral degree, so one of the key thing is changing the mindset from the student thinking to the researcher's thinking, right? So actually student and the researchers are two different animals. Those are not same. So if you look at until now, you have gone through, you act as a student. Normally, most of the people act as a student from your school time, even your degree, even your MBS, you act as a student, right? So what is the difference between the student and researcher is a very, very important. So we have to change our mindset to the student to researchers. So especially student is actually person who are getting the knowledge from the books, from the lecturers or from the professors or whatever the people you are getting the knowledge. So, and that means learning mainly focuses on the input. So therefore you are gathering knowledge from the as a student. But when it comes to researcher, you have to find the solutions, right? You have to find the solution. That is the one of the major difference. So therefore the researchers mainly focuses on the output and students are mainly focuses on the input. So that is very important. So then if I elaborate more on this, if you look at the classroom learning sessions, you can see it's actually you are getting the knowledge from the lecturers, and then you are having an examination, so you have a presentation, you have assignments, and then they're checking your knowledge. And even that, for that, instructors knows the answer, the question that they're asking. So that means they are checking. What you're doing is actually you are getting the knowledge from the people who knows the things, right? So when it comes to researcher, actually you are focusing on the solutions. So nobody knows the answers. Even your professors, even your supervisors doesn't know about the answer. You have to find your own answers, right? So therefore, there's no assessment. You have to find you have to do the design your evaluation matrix. So that is the basic difference between the students and researchers. So therefore, you have to come from the student mindset to the researcher mindset. That is must. That is must. So then another part is you have to focus on solving problems. You have to focus on solving problems thoroughly. And you have to explain the solution in speaking and writing in your research. And this solution should be carefully evaluated. That is very important. And on the same time, you have to stay in the research until you found the answer, until you found the solution. That is very important. Don't expect anyone, even your professor, even your supervisor, give the answer, because they don't know the answer. If they know the answers, that means there's no research gap, there's no contribution. So therefore, they don't know the answer. So you have to find the answer. Therefore, don't enter a research project to learn. I seen that when I enrolled the doctoral degree in the Cambridge. So I also think, okay, I want to learn. So most of the people think, okay, I want to learn. If you want to learn, don't come to do the doctoral degree. It is actually why you are doing the research, to contribute. That is very important. Then every time when you are making the things, you have to show, especially in your proposal, what is the contribution that you are going to give. That is very important. All right. Always, every time I'm stuck. So that is in the whole 3 to 4 years journey, always we can see I'm stuck. After the coursework, you can see once you start the research work, always stuck. Stuck with ideas, stuck with methodology, stuck with analysis, stuck with literature review, and even you stuck with when you are doing the proposal defense and the examiners are asking several questions, you are stuck. And even viva also, you are stuck. Always you are stuck. That is the normal and that is the common. So don't think about that. Because when you are stuck, then you have to have a very quality time. You need to have a very quality time to think. So that is very important. And we cannot avoid the stress. If you want to do the doctoral degree, you cannot do the doctoral degree without stress. There is a stress, but you have to avoid. If we are going if you are going overwhelming the stress, then you have to avoid. That is important. And other thing is when you start to do the research, you feel like a lonely in the process, especially in this kind of situation like a COVID situation and things. When we are doing my colleagues like Ruchinta and Prasantan and Lewie, so we can see sometimes we felt that we are lonely. So what you have to do is you have to call your colleague and connect and ask questions. And the same time, the supervisor, you go and ask questions. And if you are stuck, you say that I don't know how to come out of this kind of situations. So you tell it, and don't afraid. So you go and ask the questions. And on the same time, there's a what you call another thing is most of the times you think like, okay, I'm reading. So sometimes you are stuck with your reading because once you start the reading, then you are getting other material, then you read again. So what you have to do is actually, as Dr. Ruchin said, so first focus on the broad topic, and then you have to narrow down. You have to narrow down the scopes, and then after that, focus and focus and focus. That is very important. And there's a no. If anybody asks what is the right way of doing the things, there's no right way of doing things. There's a own way. You have a own way to do things. I can say only the way that I have done, but that is not the right way to you. So you have to find your right way. So that is important. And last, doctoral journey is a marathon. Results are away. And most of the people are looking for the instant noodles. They are looking shortcuts. Don't make half-baked things. You will quote. Because there's a proposal defense. There are 4 to 5 professors are sitting in the proposal defense, and there is a viva. So you will stuck. Therefore, don't make half-baked things. So give a quality time and do the work. That is very important. And another thing is, most of the times you will forget what you have done. So therefore, you have to make the research diaries. And then if you are making any decision, you have to write down. And then once you have what do you call meetings with the supervisor, you write the notes and things. If you change your methodologies, you write the changes and things, because it's a long journey. It's a marathon, right? It's not a 100 meters or 200 meters run. So it's a marathon. And therefore, always you have to have the motivation to do that. So you always have to keep the milestone. That is very important. You have to always keep the milestone. So these are some of the few insight, only few insight. I think my colleagues will explain all the other things. So and later I will also take the questions if you have. So I would like to hand over to the Dr. Lewie for the next sessions.
Thank you very much, Sajid. Thank you. So we remember the good times we had during the defense. Actually, I sat through Sajid's defense and his research colloquium. So research colloquium is where you present your work to a lot of other doctoral students who also, and it was an international research colloquium. So people can ask questions on your framework, on your hypothesis. So I remember sitting through Dr. Sajid's presentation as well, which he defended very well. So let me now invite Dr. Prashanthan, who is here with us today. Prashanthan, if you can enlighten us on how to navigate through the doctoral journey, because we have a lot of students. We have about 70 students on our live feed as well, who are undertaking it at the moment, and there are different stages. I remember you were one of them who was stuck at some point, just like all of us. So can you share that and please inspire us?
Thank you, Dr. Diasz, and thank you, my colleagues, Dr. Ruchi and Dr. Sajita. Okay, let me share my first. If you want to become a researcher or DBA, you have to focus on your interest. So focus on your interest means you have to, yeah. I'm audible?
Yes, you are. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you have to focus your interest, otherwise you will lose, and sometime you will stuck and you will get, I hate my research. So interest in the sense you have to narrow down your focus, and you have to get some burning interest or burning issues what you look at in your organization, because we are focusing on doctoral business administration, so it's not like a PhD. It's we have to solve the real life problems. So if you want to complete, because when you move toward the interest, it will hold you. So until the 3.5 years, it will hold you, and at least you can find out some. So as a solution, you have to find out. There's no proper answer, or there's no proper guideline for this research. So that's a first tip which I can give you. Second one, as a researcher, we have to think, I am nobody. So even though you selected one research topic which you interest, but you have to find relevant literatures. So optimum number of references. So always, so when my colleague talked to me, they said, okay, I know this answer. So I know the problem and I know the answer. So in that case, you can't do the research. So when you start the research, you have to unlearn and you have to believe that I am nobody in this research, because what we are going to say, everything is from the reference. So you have to justify everything in the research and believe you can say only after when you get the doctoral degree only you can say, okay, because that one going to add in the body of knowledge. So until that, you have to believe that I'm nobody. So whatever you are writing, whatever you are saying, everything you have to pin with references. So there's no too much references. There are no few references. Everything is optimal reference. So who will decide the references? It's not you. It's not your supervisor. It's a panel of people. They will decide at final. So third one, you have to plan, practice, and consistent. Because we all are working people. Sometimes with the workload, we forgot our research. Maybe when the emails come, the notification for the proposal defense, then only we remember we are doing research. So if you continue in the, so if in my experience from the, after the coursework, when I started the research, from the day one, I have created a plan. So every day, 2 to 3 hours, we have to dedicate with consistent, and we have to plan. So like a research diary. So you can write your own, or you can use the Excel sheet. So you can prepare. So literature one by one, you have to read. So summarize of the literature, you can keep it in your Excel, and you can take it to the proposal defense, because sometime your examiners will ask. So that was happened to me. So I bought my Excel sheet and showed them, this is the literature what I read, and this is the conclusion from that literature. This is very important. Expect change and be agile. So without being changed, be agile, you can't complete the research. Because expect the unexpected. That's a research. So if you look at my research thesis, I mastered in methodologies. So because when I started, I go with a mixed method, qualitative and quantitative. It's a mixed method. Then when I come to the proposal defense, my external examiner say, no, this is not feasible. Go with action research. Then another 1.5 years, I do the action research and everything I complete. Then during the Viva, again, they say, no, this is not proper. Change to case study methodology. So in my research, totally, I done qualitative, quantitative, action research, case methodology. There are 4 methodologies I have changed. So finally, however, I complete. But don't think always we are correct. Always give the space to feedback. Get the feedback from your supervisor. Every time, get the changes. If you've done the changes, and you can read more and you can apply more. The final part is very important part. If you want to complete the research, your theoretical or conceptual framework, you have to make sure it's very clear. You have to make sure how you derive this theoretical framework or conceptual framework, because it's very important question in your proposal defense as well as the Viva. If you are clear about this framework, you can do your research very nicely. So we will see how your research journey is going to be a theoretical framework. So as you are a DBA student, you are an independent variable. But your thesis is not independent variable, it's a dependent variable. but you have supervisor. He or she is the mediating variable every time throughout the research. She is the mediating variable, she or he, because whatever your corrections, whatever your commands, everything is go through the supervisor. But very important, external examiners, they are the moderating variable. Anytime they can change anything. So during the proposal defense, during the viva, everything can be changed by these moderating variables. So you have to make sure whatever you follow, you have to clearly explain. So if you prepare your conceptual framework very clearly, from that you can create the mind map and you can explain your entire research. So that's my conclusion. So whenever you are going to do the research, first you focus on your conceptual framework and you can go finally for the viva. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Diasz, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I like that last framework that you put, showing the different variables. All right. So I'd like to share a few thoughts from my end, and let me get my presentation ready. So in terms of my journey, in terms of the 3.5 years, slightly over 3 years, there were lots of ups and downs. At some point, I was angry, hungry, happy, and sometimes a lot of frustrations. But I think the COVID situation also helped because it gave us a lot of time. It gave us a lot of time to reflect. When I was angry at one point with some of the changes that were proposed, I called my supervisor because my external examiner changed some of my variables. And he was arguing with me, and at a DBA level, you have to argue. So when you're arguing, there is of course, examiner. So you can't get harsh. You have to professionally argue, which means you have to put your ideas across and justify, critically justify as to why you are saying what you're saying. And I remember when I was doing that, my supervisor messaged me and said, calm down, right? He messaged me and said, calm down. And I remember after the meeting, I went to him and I said, why was that guy, changing everything? He's contesting every single thing that I'm saying. And then my supervisor, my learned professor, who told me, welcome to the DBA. He's doing his job. That is his job. His job is to try and give you a tough time. Your job is to survive. His job is to give you a tough time. And I was thinking about the lesson I learned about life from that simple experience. I understood what his role is, and then I understood what my role is. I can't expect him to behave the way I want. He has to criticize my work. I have to defend my work. And that is one of the biggest lessons I learned navigating through the doctoral journey. So in terms of the chapters, I want to cover a few areas. Perhaps my colleagues can also share their thoughts during a Q&A. I think some of you are in chapter one. Chapter one now, also guys, don't see this as a very big thing, where you are trying to discover some scientific, maybe a vaccine or something. No, it's nothing like that. Don't think about it in a very big way. Break it down into small paragraphs, headings. These are the headings for chapter one. If you can write perhaps 10,000 words for chapter 1 under these headings. And don't also get stuck. I see some of you, there are some areas, if you're not very familiar with research, you at once get stuck there and then you don't move forward. Now, I actually learned that thanks to my academic background. In certain areas when I got stuck, I did a little bit of mind mapping, force field kind of thing in that area. And I then move forward. I move forward because that momentum is very important. Momentum. So you have to control your feelings. Momentum is very important. So some of you, one of the biggest places you get stuck in chapter 1 is the conceptual framework, that dependent, independent, mediating, moderating variable piece. That's where I can tell you a lot of people are getting stuck. But if you just be a little smart and watch about 5 YouTube videos, forget about anything else. Don't try to go and visit a library and read research books and all that. Just watch some YouTube videos on those 4 variables, how it will create a conceptual framework and simplify. You see, our problem is we think we are expecting something, to discover something and something really big. No, sometimes you'll be amazed. Your examiner comes and tells you, like what Dr. Ruchita said, simplify, simplify, simplify. There is an opportunity when you're doing your research, you can complicate it a little bit, but your framework, you can simplify it. Data analysis, after you collect your data, there's so much of testing that you can do to complicate matters. But your framework, simplify it, move forward, don't get stuck. Hypothesis testing, coming up with hypotheses are another place that our students get stuck in this first chapter. So you can get help. We are there to share thoughts with you. Your supervisor is there, and you can also speak to some scholars, researchers on this specific area if you're stuck. But you can't go and tell them, I'm now stuck here, I have not done anything else. With what you know, with what you watch on YouTube, you do it, and then you go and say, here's my 10,000 words chapter 1. Now I'm stuck in this, my mediating variables or my moderating variables. Most often you get stuck. Okay, how do I, can you provide some input? And there are lots of people within a couple of seconds, they'll give you some ideas, right? Chapter 2 is about literature review. Literature review. I love this chapter. Because I have authored 2 books. I love to sit and do literature reviews. And, as long as you have access to EBSCO, Emerald, Google Scholar, and if you need any help there, I can always help you out. Literature review is critical. And then it's always good once you finish your literature review to have a plagiarism check. It's always good. I remember after I finished each chapter, I did a Turnitin report because then it consolidates and it shows, especially after the literature review, what your similarity index is. So you try and keep it under about 15%. Try and keep the overall under 15%. So with your literature review, you have about 10%. I remember I had that and I was so happy. So, but if you have 70, 80%, then you need to go back to your literature review. That means you're cutting and pasting your literature. That's not the idea. Because when it comes to APA referencing style and Harvard referencing, there are many methods of doing citations in text references, right? Quotation marks are only one method. There are so many other methods. So if you need any help there, we can always help you. But again, YouTube has a lot of videos. Everything you want to learn, you can learn on YouTube today, right? So the third chapter is on methodology. Now, this is actually where I got a little bit of help at first from one of the research lecturers, Professor Siddhi Sena, some of you know, who taught us from University of Colombo. So I went and met him and I got some feedback in terms of what kind of quali-quanti mixed methodology that I can use. Because you don't want to fall in trouble. You also want to appeal to your examiners. At the same time, you don't want to make it too simple also. So then what degree? So I got a little bit of help from one of our lecturers here on methodology, but don't get scared of methodology. Start with what you know. Along the way, you can connect the dots, get a few ideas, and move forward. Your supervisor, your examiners will always encourage you and help you, right? So third chapter is all about methodology, research design, right? Measures, are you going to do any field or lab tests, data collection, broad data analysis. If you're using Conti, what kind of methods, what softwares you're going to use, implications and limitations. And then comes your proposal defense after you finish your third chapter, right? So guys, honestly, if you are pursuing your DBA up to this point, chapter 1, 2, 3, you might have about 2 or 3 technical areas, right? Others are very, if you have the discipline to keep your posterior in one place and sit down in one place, that's the biggest challenge. That's the biggest challenge today. How do you sit in one place? A lot of people are not disciplined. They have to run to the fridge. You have to go and see Uber guy has come out. I have the same problem. I have 2 kids, right? Slightest thing they cry, you got to go and run behind them. So I remember one of the biggest learnings was I had a mug of coffee at about 11 o'clock in the night after my family went to sleep. And usually I work till about 1, 2 in the morning. So with the coffee, it helps me. So again, it helps you write sometimes 2, 3 pages when there's no other sound and noise disturbance around us. And you let success breed success. Let success breed success. Next day in the morning, you are really happy because you've added 2 pages or 1.5 pages. So don't get stuck, right? But I must tell you, the proposal defense, we have one external examiner and one university examiner who will drill you on your work. So you have to get ready. You have to get ready. No sympathy. So you have to defend your work, right? So one good thing is, before you go, if you want to, you can ask us and have a Zoom call and say, can you all criticize our work? Can you criticize? And we, 4 of us, we would love to do that. We would love to criticize your work. And then you know the kind of questions that the examiner will ask you, right? And then we go into chapter 4. Now you have got the clearance from your examiner saying you are ready to go into data collection. Your proposal has been cleared, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Now collect your data. Make a few changes and collect your data, analyze your data. So here's again where you might need a little bit of help from some technical experts, on data analysis experts. If you have the skill, you can do it, but otherwise you have to design your questionnaire. You have to envisage what are the kind of tests that you're going to do, normality to t-test to multiple linear regression to multi-collinearity, hypothesis testing, other quali techniques are available. So that is if you're doing quali or mixed methods. So your sampling technique is something that you will get approval on during the defense. So I think this is a very exciting phase, very, very exciting phase. And I hope all of you get here really fast, right? In terms of collecting your data, because there's a lot of learning when it comes to collecting data. You're scared to see whether your respondents have sort of given you the responses in a way that you can model it into kind of a framework in chapter 5. So that fear is there, But if you work with some friends who are experienced in terms of data analysis, they will help you with some of the pitfalls. So you might know how to expand your survey. You would have undertaken a pilot survey before. I did a pilot survey and I learned a lot of things there as well. So this is critical. And finally, chapter 5, now you're putting the bells and the whistles, right? The summary, the research implications, the limitations, recommendations for future research. And this is really where you see, now you're running the last lap. You see the finishing line. You see the finishing line. Some of you are here. Some of you are here. So you have to now enjoy it and you have to rush it. Don't leave it for months and months. You have to expedite. You have to push yourself, right? So at the end of it, sit back. And when you get that letter saying you have graduated, there's no such joy in the world, because of 3.5, 4 years of hard work has paid off. And all of you are going to experience that joy. Money can't buy that joy. Only you have to go through it and experience. You have to go through it and experience it. And I'm sure all of you will. You have to persevere. You have to persist. Never give up. And always have a few people that you're talking to. Don't get stuck in one place. Move to the next level. Move to the next level. Keep talking to your colleagues. All right. So that is my presentation. I want to ask if any of you have any questions, any specific questions. Please feel free to unmute and ask. You can also type it. So you can also type the questions, but let me ask a few questions from the panelists as well. Dr. Rujita, could you tell us a little bit if there is, now there are some of your colleagues here. What are the two main areas you really got stuck in your research? And two main areas. Now I've shown chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it conceptualization? Is it data analysis? If so, what area? And how do you overcome that? Can you shed some light?
Right. Thank you, Dr. Diasz. The two biggest challenges I faced probably were the literature review and also the data collection and the analysis. So the two areas. Literature review, what happened in my research is that I sort of had about 30 to 40 articles printed out and read and looked at theoretical research gaps. But the problem was that the variables I chose didn't really align with the gaps in the existing literature. So I had to sort of do further research in the proposal defense stage, number one. Number two, data collection, I used convenient sampling, which is a fairly easy, straightforward method. Whereas the university thought that that was too easy. And they said, look, hey, you know what? This is schoolboy stuff. Why don't you sort of use a more in-depth sort of a complex method? But then I was my report, my thesis was on tourism and digital marketing, how it relates to attitude, intention, and loyalty. So I had to really justify and say, look, you know what? I wish I could sort of change the sampling methods, but then I have certain challenges, practical challenges. So I was able to sort of bypass that, but it was tough. So I think those were the two major challenges for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Sajid, would you like to tell us what are the two main areas you really got stuck and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, first thing is actually when I start this the doctoral degree, this is the first time that I start the research process, right? So that is the first challenge. So because I don't know how to do the research, that is the first challenge. So whatever the things that I have done, basically I during the coursework time and things, I asked from colleagues like Prasantan and people and like Puchinta. So that is the first thing. So then actually YouTube and all these things helped me. So that is the first challenge. That is the basics. So then actually when it comes to data collection, because my research is strategy implementation, and then I want to, it's a quantitative one. Therefore, I want to, my sample is actually, I want to get 100 manufacturing because I did in the manufacturing industries. So therefore, I want to find like 100 manufacturing organization, which is I have to interview like a top 100 people in that organization, which is one of the key challenge. I think sometimes the complexities are giving a bit challenge. So finally, I found the 100 people, which I took almost planning. If I plan like normally I plan 2 months, but it took 4 months to get that things, because these senior level people are very difficult to get like a 50-60 questions, get the questions. So that is one of the key challenge that I faced. And last one, actually, the analysis part. As I earlier mentioned also, so analysis part, it's a statistical things which is not much familiar to us in the beginning. Therefore, I got, as you mentioned, some support from the who are doing the statistical things. So then I learned, and then I applied. So those are the key challenges that I faced. But telling frankly, in the literature reviews and all this stuff, I go quite smoothly. But some of the areas which is like the data collection and analysis is key challenges that I face.
You know, actually, just to add to that, before Prashanthan comes on, it's actually quite sad that we also lost 2 of our colleagues during these 3.5 years. I will fail in my duties if I don't mention the good times we had with Randy, who we lost a few months ago. Very sad. I still remember what a jovial character he was, and we will always remember the good times. And then Dasaman, who we also lost a few months ago. Prashanthan, he was your good friend as well, so you can perhaps share a little bit of good times we shared with Malaysia, and then move on to the question.
Yeah, because we both start the journey together. I hope that Lewie remember that. So first day when I visit to the college, and myself and here, we both came and started this journey actually. But many times we work together. We are in the same company and we are working together. So unfortunately, he was able to complete. So he went away with the dream. Okay, we come back to the question.
There's
so
also
in my
Dr. Prashanthan on the group for you, Dr. Prashanthan, with the engineering background. How did you select your?
Yeah. Yes, because I'm basically as a chartered engineer. So first I did my MBA. So when I really enjoy the subject marketing. So when I go through the internet, I found that there's a MSc in strategic marketing course from the strategic college. So I just came across, and first day I went to the class of sales management. So the colleague who is now he is doing the DBA also, he's a lecturer, and he asked me whether you are in the wrong class. So because all other marketeers are there, because I'm the only person who is from engineering background, I think in 2016 that was. So I just completed that MSc in marketing. So one of the lecturers, Dr. Lewie here. Then I attracted by this management and marketing, this all the stuff, because I love business and management than engineering. That's obvious. Then I started this doctoral and just finished. So first I would like to thank Dr. Lewie to this, because this is a journey. So I don't know whether it's suddenly or I planned, but however I came into the journey and I just want to complete, then I completed. So that's what
Prashanthan, the 2 areas, could you just tell us what are your frustrated?
Yeah, there's a 2 areas. One is methodology. Because methodology, in the sense, it's not selected by me, actually, it's selected by the external examiner. So because I am from engineering background, even I have research background from the MBA, I choose to go with quantitative, because I'm very good with this SPSS and my PLS, everything I can handle myself. But fortunately, during my proposal defense, my supervisor said, no, this is not relevant to the quantitative, go with qualitative. So then I learned everything from zero. even the software, qualitative analysis, everything I learned myself. And finally, I come up with to the Viva. So during the Viva, again, my examiner said, yeah, but you can use a qualitative technique, but your methodology is wrong. So then, because methodology is not selected by me, again, I changed the methodology to case study based on the supervisor feedback. So then this is the real challenge, because other chapter 1, 2, 3, everything I have some experience and I can do it. But doing the qualitative research is very interesting as well as challenges. So these are the two parts I faced and I welcome this. Thank you.
So if I may move into the conclusion, if there's one thing, Dr. Rojita, that you can share with and encourage the potential doctors whom would come out in the next few years. Now, COVID is a difficult time, but it's also an opportunity for you to make use of this time, because most of it, I mean, we had to go to Malaysia, but now you can do your defense, your colloquiums, your publications, everything can be done online because of COVID. So is there any final concluding thoughts that you'd like to share to encourage our learners?
Right. A very good question. I think the most important thing is to prepare a roadmap, structure and jot down your journey. Span it for 3.5 to 4 years. And then create a roadmap and then stick it somewhere prominent in your desk or near your desk or your wall or somewhere. That's number one. And then pace out the stages. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Proposal, defense, and viva. Colloquium. Put those things in. Stick to that. Look at it morning, afternoon, and night. Work for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours a day. I think that's it. That is what you should do. Thank you.
Great. Sajid, any concluding remarks to encourage everyone to finish?
So one thing is actually I can tell the same thing which I mentioned previously also. Don't expect instant noodles, or don't expect shortcuts. Don't make half-baked things. You will get caught. Therefore, definitely your journey will be very, very difficult. So you stick to the plan as Rujinta mentioned, and need very quality thinking time. Put the quality effort, and every day 1 hour, even half an hour, it's enough. You start every day, you just tick it. So then you will end up with that nice final result. That's all.
Sajid, which country are you in?
Yeah, actually, I'm in Cambodia. So that is another thing, because when I start this one, actually I didn't come to the coursework. I got the what do you call this voice recorder, and then I start. Actually, I never never came to the lectures. I got the voice message, and I got the help from my friends, and then I did this doctoral degree. So that is also. Everything is possible. That's what I want to say.
Absolutely. I remember I first met you in Malaysia during your proposal defense.
Yes.
And, I was amazed to see the kind of work you had done. Perhaps, one day we can have a reunion again, there. Prashantan, any final concluding thoughts of encouragement?
Yeah, same as I told already. Expect the unexpected. That's a change. So every time keep in touch with your supervisor. That's a very important thing. Always follow up. So in my phone, I have my supervisor WhatsApp number is the first one. So I pin it with that. Every time I torture her because supervisors are not doing only our research. So they have a lot of works, but we have to remember them. We are also waiting for their feedback. So that's a very important thing, because our entire researches depend on the supervisor. So always keep in touch with supervisor and as prepare a diary, research diary, and do your research well. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I mean, let's look forward to have a few more sessions, guys. Hopefully next time we'll have a few more of our colleagues joining the alumni as well. And you know, if there's one thing that I can say in conclusion is you have to begin with the end in mind. You know, I've been to 8 or 9 graduations now, and I've seen so many doctorates. I've taken pictures of them passing and all that. So I always thought. I want a small video clip, and I want my kids to look at their father accepting their doctoral degree, and that actually, you know, that image really motivated me because my son, you know, he sees what I do and he learns. So no matter how much I ask him to do something, he won't do it. But if I read a book, he starts reading. You know, if I am on Zoom, he goes on and talks to his friends on Zoom. So that's the most powerful way of teaching your kids. If you want them to do something and change their behavior, you have to do it, and they will start doing it. Not only your kids, even if your wives, you can change behavior, right? If you want to, don't get into trouble. So thank you very much, guys. Begin with the end in mind. Remember that. Persevere. Thank you very much. Thanks to the panel. Thank you very much. Let's meet again. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Lewie and team.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Night.
Good night, sir.